Hello Sioux Falls and welcome to Planning Preview for the month of September. My name is Jason Bieber with the Planning Office at the City of Sioux Falls, and joining me as always is our Planning Commission Chair Bradyn.
Yeah, good to be back.
Yeah, good to have you this month. It's kind of refreshing a little bit. Last month was a little bit nuts and a ton of items that I actually wasn't there for since I got to go to a fun conference. But this month we've only got 2 items, so you get like this short meeting as chair and a nice easy break. So
should be easy, it seems like.
We'll see. Should be, right?
We'll see, yeah.
Yeah, let's get right into them here.
Yeah, it looks like the first one is out by 41st and T. Ellis, rezoning from single family to conservation and twin homes. Yeah,
so you're right. This is kind of west of Ellis and north of 41st Street. Really, if you haven't driven out that area as you go to the landfill, it's crazy how much stuff has gotten built out there.
There's a lot going on.
Yep, really growing. So this is, they're looking to kind of do those townhome type units, but reduce the setbacks a little bit. Sure. So this will get them 20-foot front yards and 10 in the back, get a little bit more density, which is good, especially out there where they need a lot of housing, it seems like. So
yeah, very good. And next one looks like it's a conditional use permit for an off-premise sign. Looks like along I-29 near kind of just west of the fairgrounds.
Yeah, yep, you're right. They're just on the west side of 29, kind of south of Madison. This is off-premise sign, so billboard type sign that you see. It's located, within the billboard overlay district, and they are allowed up to 288 square feet, and then, as you know, they can come in front of you guys to get up to 672. Typically where we want these larger billboards or on our higher trafficked area, so typically, we've supported those ones on the interstate, so not much out there, so I don't see much opposition to this billboard, I guess, so.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks for joining us this month.
Thank you.
Stay tuned, Sioux Falls. After the break, we'll have Logan Penfield, our housing development manager, stop in and talk about one of their great programs that they do here for the city. So stay tuned. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to today's Maintenance Minute. My name is Seth and I'm here with Bruce. We're housing specialists with the City of Sioux Falls. Bruce, I have an older home with a block foundation, and every single spring I seem to get water coming into my basement. How do I take care of that?
Well, there's a lot of different ways you can take a look at that. You can check to see if you've got proper slope away from your house with the grade around the outside. That's one way to fix it. Another way is to do what we've got here, to go around the inside of the foundation and put in drain tile. Come in around, they take the cement out all the way around the perimeter in here, put drain tile down, pour concrete back over the top, put a sump pit in, and then you can discharge the water outside of your home, and that should hopefully take care of any groundwater issues or water coming in from the outside.
So the drain tile collects all the water, drains it into this pit, and the pump actually pumps it outside.
Right. Yep, it's pumped to the outside. There's a hose that's connected out there that can be moved around your yard. Some people use it to try and water their trees or their plants. The biggest thing is get it as far away from your house as possible, but not out onto the street or across the sidewalks.
Great. Well, there you go, folks. If you have an issue with water in your basement, sump pump is the way to go. If you'd like to see if one of our city programs can help you out, call 367-8180 or check us out online at siouxfalls.org.
Welcome back to Planning Preview for the month of September. Joining me now is Logan Penfield, our Housing Development Manager.
Thanks for having me, Jason.
Thanks for being on the show. We wanted you back on. I think I had you on, was it the beginning of this year or was it late last year? I can't remember now.
It's my 3rd time doing this with you,
my
so
gosh.
I feel like
You're our first third-time guest, kind of like Saturday Night Live where they have like the 9-time hosts and stuff, so.
That's probably not a good omen for you.
Well, we wanted you back on this fall because you had mentioned you do have the single-family rehabilitation program that you have, and as it gets to the end of the year, you're trying to exhaust some of those funds. So you wanted to kind of get on here and hopefully get the word out about some of the things that people can apply for to get those funds by the end of the year.
Yeah, so the single-family rehab program is a fantastic way for low, moderate-income families to do necessary rehabilitations to their home. So they have to own the home. They have to have equity in the home, and then they can qualify for a zero interest deferred loan through the city of Sioux Falls up to $35,000. And then what they generally do with that is you run into a lot of HVAC systems, siding, windows, doors, roofs. It's a great time of year to start those projects and to look into them, because if you go into the winter months and you find out you have a heating system that's broken,
Yep.
you have some leaky windows or problems with your roof or doors, now's a great time to start that before we get the really cold weather rolling in that we're going to see over the course of December, January, February. And for the most part, all of those are qualifying rehabs that you can do. We have funding available. We have our application process online. Go to siouxfalls.gov/housing. If you click on the single family rehab link there, it'll take you to the application process. And if there's any questions, you can always call our team, and we're happy to walk people through that.
So the single-family rehab program, there's income limits, I'm assuming, with that,
Correct.
right? So what would an income limit be?
So for a family of four, it'd be 80% of area median income.
Okay.
So it varies. Obviously, your income is 80% is the cap, and then it varies based on household size. So the lower the household, the lower the threshold, but it's all based on the area median income of the city of Sioux Falls.
So if, let's say I qualify for that and I come in and I find out about this program as something that interests me, and I decide to apply, like how long would it be from application date to when you actually approved? How long does that usually take, that process?
Getting the approval through our system, so that generally means income approved. We just verify income
Real quick.
and make sure we have all the necessary information. You own the house. We do require a mortgage, but there's no payment. It's just a secondary mortgage. Again, 0% interest if you sign that. It can start in the matter of weeks, not months, depending on the flood of applications that we might get. I would say a week to 2 weeks to get approved, and then you are required, once that happens, you'll be notified. You'll be contacted by one of our program specialists, and then you can start the process of working with the contractor to get those estimates over, and then ultimately have the work done.
So let's say you approve me, and I'm working with whatever Frisbees or whatever to get a brand new HVAC system. Do I have to get a bid from them, and then I submit the bid to the city, and then you guys then give me the money up front, or does usually the homeowner pay for it up front and then we reimburse them once the work is completed?
Sure, it's based on reimbursement. So the contractor will work with the homeowner and the city, and a lot of times what happens is a check will be cut to the homeowner or the contractor so that it goes through them. So this is for, if we're going to get into the weeds for HUD purposes, right? We are working with the homeowner to provide a loan, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the check has to go and get transferred to one bank account and then another check written to the contractor.
Gotcha.
It can be given to the contractor, signed over by the homeowner, and we can do it all in just one meeting. And that's generally how that works.
Yeah, it seems easy just to get it over to the contractor once the work's completed. So then you talked about it's a no interest loan, and then that isn't paid back until the person sells the house, correct? You don't make payments on that at all.
Correct. As long as that house remains in that owner's possession, there is no repayment scheduled. If the house is sold, if it's part of an estate and donated, those type of actions will then lead to us receiving repayment of that mortgage, that secondary mortgage. You work with a lot of income restricted elderly couples or elderly individuals that there's been years of deferred maintenance on houses. Oftentimes if people are on Social Security or disability or those type of programs, they might own a house, but they can't afford to really invest in roof, siding, all that kind of thing. So once we get somebody approved and they have equity in their house, not only are we improving their living condition, this creating a safe, sanitary housing, but also it helps them see that as an investment too. Because once you improve the structure itself, a house is often the largest purchase or asset that anybody has, and so you can look at it that way too. That there's equity that they're gaining just by rehabbing that property. The fun thing is people get in there thinking, oh, I just need to do one thing, right? We saw this with the grant. Oh, I just need to replace the AC system. And then once they're approved for that, and we work with our housing program specialists, they realize what's eligible for that program. And they might say, oh, I have windows that haven't been updated in years, and they might be rotting in places, and the property might not be sealed up. So they'll add windows to the job. It really is a good program. Our program specialists that administer it take a ton of pride in every project they're helping those families and individuals with. So we're really pushing that out again. We try at the start of the building season to make a push to get people, kind of before it gets hot, that weather situation. And now as we're rolling into winter, we want to make sure to make another push again. So, I hope everybody checks out siouxfalls.gov/housing single family rehab program. It's a great program for those that qualify.
Yeah, and I think that's, I know one thing you guys talk about too is you get certain money, is that from HUD every year for this program, correct? And then it seems like every year you're continuing to get more because, like you said, those no interest loans, when somebody sells a house, that money then comes back to you for the program, correct?
Yes, the city of Sioux Falls is considered an entitlement community. So every year we get an annual allocation of community development block grant funding, CDBG funds. And since we predominantly use those funds for deferred loans, or long-term repayment loans in some cases, not of this program, we have program income that comes back off of that. We've got loans going back as far as the 1980s. So this has been an ongoing process. And every year we get about an additional 50% of our allocation from program income alone. So we get about $1 million, $1.1 million in CDBG funds, and we get between $400,000 and $500,000 in annual program income. So we're constantly able to grow the impact that we have of the single family rehab program, and it's really become one that we take a ton of pride in, and that has done a lot of good in the community.
So you're on the show, like I said, today to talk about this and to get people to apply. Do you have quite a bit of money left then to be able to give to people at this point in the year?
Yes, there's, not to get too deep into the weeds of how the HUD funding works out, but we are about to receive our 2024 funding allocation within the next 6 weeks, just because of the timeline for the federal government passing its spending bill and then the timeline of everybody applying for their own funds. You still have to apply for the funds that you're allocated as in an annual action plan, but we're looking at getting that in the next 4 to 6 weeks. So we have funding available to get us through till then, not a problem, and then we'll have a full funding allocation for 12 months at that point. So yeah, there's plenty of funding available for that program, and we're more going to be limited by just how much the applications pick up and the ability to process them quickly than we are with any funding for that program.
But the extra funding that, if you say have $30,000 at the end of 2024, does that roll back over then, so you can use it next year then? If it doesn't, you don't have to send it back, is what you're saying.
No, we make sure that we find ways to manage through that cash. So if it does get to a point where there's a heavy utilization like it did a couple years ago, we made sure to prioritize which projects were weather dependent first, and lean into those. And then when the next year's allocation came forward, we made sure to just keep it moving as much as possible. We haven't had to shut that program off anytime. It's something that HUD doesn't see a ton of, where there's ongoing application process, and we take a lot of pride in that being available for families and individuals year round. A lot of times emergencies happen at the, I had this happen a couple years ago. My AC unit went down right before it was going to be 100 degrees for 5 straight days, right? It never happens when it's going to be 65 outside. So we want to make sure that for the families that need it, we have the resources available to address those challenges. And so far, we've always been able to manage through that.
So let me ask you that brings me up to a good question. So let's say that happens to somebody that qualifies for your loan program and they call HVAC contract, that contract comes out, replaces it. Can they still then apply, or does it have to be done? You have to apply before then, okay.
It's got to be done in the proper order.
Okay.
So that's why I tell people, apply. If you get approved, you'll be contacted by one of the program specialists and they'll walk you through it. Once you're approved, things can move pretty quickly for as long as the contractor can get to you, or the HVAC. There's a bunch of them, and I know sometimes it's a week and sometimes it's a month before they can see you. But we don't want to be the reason that we're holding up anybody from getting the necessary repair done like that, especially when it's an emergency, which in the summer around here, if you don't have an AC, it can be considered an emergency.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Well, that's great. I mean, I think it's such a great program, and I've seen some of the houses that you guys have worked on that you have sent and shown kind of other people in the department, and it's just great how you revitalizing some of these neighborhoods, just one project at a time, right? But then it starts to compound, and you start getting these neighborhoods that are kind of the up and up. Younger people are coming in and really taking pride in their houses. So it's been really great with that program. So I want to talk about another great thing that I think you guys are doing that was approved by the council beginning of August, was the old Mercado building tear down, and then you guys partnering with Southeastern Behavioral Health and Lloyd companies to bring their office there and then have 2 or 3 levels of apartments above it. What is that like? I mean, when you get to do something like that, does that just feel really great that you can put some housing money in there? And what kind of money did you guys put into that?
Sure. So for the initial acquisition, it was $1 million forgivable loan to acquire the property. The back end of it will be that Southeastern, with Lloyd Companies as the developer of it, is going to apply for a 9% low-income housing tax credit. That'll be not approved necessarily. That application is going to be up for approval at the South Dakota Housing Development Authority board meeting, likely in November. So in November, we will know whether or not that application gets approved. If that application gets approved, we intend to put another $1.8 million of one-time federal dollars that are really difficult to use. It's called Home ARP, and basically the home investment grant that we get annually. It has all those regulations on it, and then the ARP part just is additional regulations that make it more challenging to use. We're grateful for the funding, but it's got to be for deep income targeting, and it has a lot of home regulations on it. So with that funding, that'll help drive down the rents that are going to be charged at the tax credit if approved. The $1 million for acquisition and rehabilitation, generally that wouldn't be something we would do 2 layers of funding like that. Operating on greenfield sites where you're just developing, open spaces is a lot more affordable than buying a business that's valued as it's operating, and then having to tear that down and to develop that lot to then be rebuilt back up. So it's just the increased cost of redevelopment compared to development, but at the same time, the value you get, right? We're getting infill development in a part of town that is walkable to downtown. So there's added density there. It's a neighborhood that will appreciate the investment. The neighborhood has been behind it from all public meetings that I've received feedback from. And, over the course of time, I said this at the council meeting too, when you're going to deep income target, and by deep income target, I mean 30% of area median, 40% of area median income, you either don't want all of those units to be deep income targeted, and you want a mixed use building so it's blended throughout, or what you want is on-site case management services there. And that's what SEBH is going to have. They're going to have on-site 24/7 case management, behavioral health services available for the clientele that they serve. And so it's a really exciting project that combines federal funding, city funding. There's going to be some state funding in there if their application gets approved, obviously, with the tax credit through South Dakota Housing Development Authority. And the neighborhood's really bought in with it. They've done a nice job of meeting with neighbors, and I think they hosted two.
Yeah.
Two
Yep.
community
Yep.
meetings. That was your division over there that
Yep.
hosted those, and I know that those went really well, and everybody's excited about it. So it's going to be a project that I imagine gets a lot of publicity over the next 18 months,
Yep.
and it's one that I really look forward to seeing progress through.
Yeah, and I think that's, like I said, that's a great project that you guys are working on with those. So such exciting stuff happening in housing with all the stuff you're working on. So I appreciate you coming on, and maybe you'll get to come on for the 4th time. You know, you never know.
Hey, if I'm not the first 4th time repeat guest, I'm guessing it went badly today. So thank you.
Thanks, Logan. Thanks for joining us for Planning Preview for the month of September. This month, the meeting is on Wednesday, September 4th. And as always, we allow public comment on the items we spoke about tonight. And also there is that 5-minute comment period at the end of the agenda to talk anything planning related. So thanks, Sioux Falls, and have a great day.